everybody. Thanks for coming tonight and allowing me to share my story, which actually, as far as entrepreneurial, as being an entrepreneur, only started less than a year ago. So my story is, it started a little bit before, but as you'll see, it's been quite a journey so far. So my journey from worker bee to queen bee. So this is a picture that I took a couple years ago. It's at my dad's. I have a hobby, which is photography. I love photography, and this is my favorite time of the year. And this picture kind of represents to me, we have it hanging in our house, but it resembles a certain calmness that I always feel in the fall after a hectic summer, as well as certainty. So it's one road, one path leading to somewhere. So as you'll see, my path is not quite that certain, but the thing that I think I like about this is there is a little bit of adventure at the end of that path. We don't know where that goes. So although it's certain, it's calm, there is some sense of adventure. So this is actually what my life has been up until now. I am back to that nice fall picture of the calmness, but I started off, I guess my parents were entrepreneurs. I went off to university and got my degree in law and sociology, went off to be a behavior counselor. Then I went to South Korea. I taught English as a second language, came back to Toronto after that and wanted to open my own language school, but it seemed like a lot of work. But I had that urge to just maybe create something that I thought I could do better. And after I was teaching English as a second language in Toronto, I ended up working with international foreign professionals and helping them find jobs in the province of Ontario. So a bit of a connector between professionals and looking for jobs. After that job, I went on to work in human resources for Atlantis Entertainment. So I worked in the entertainment field. And then another more human resources related position at the Professional Association of Interns and Residents of Ontario, where I connected young doctors with jobs. So I've always kind of had this connector piece running through my life, but this is kind of how my life has kind of been for the last, 20 years. When I was working in my various corporate jobs, I worked mostly in healthcare. So the last 10, 15 years has been in healthcare. And I found that there was a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, a lot of, oh, well, we've always done things this way. And because I'm kind of more of a creative person, I never felt quite right there. I think I always did well in my job. I'm proud of what I accomplished, but I got very, very frustrated in the corporate world. So I stepped out for a little bit. I quit my job at the government, stepped out, did some consulting, and I loved working for myself. I loved being, working from home and not having to report to anybody, doing things the way I wanted to. But then this job came up, just down the street, like a 3-minute walk from my house, and it seemed too good to be true. It was a director role. I had the experience in healthcare that I needed for this role, and I thought, I'm just gonna give it a try. Well, this is kind of where I ended up. I'll pencil that in my schedule somewhere between pulling my hair out and being way too busy to eat lunch. And I didn't eat lunch. Nobody ate lunch. I had people on either side of me, offices. I had my own office, big office, and people on either side of me, and I didn't even know them because we were always going from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, and always on our phones and never eating lunch or getting to know each other. Introducing the Schoolhouse. Some of you may recognize this if you live in Markham. This is an old schoolhouse that I drove by. I've been driving by since I moved to Markham, so over 10 years ago. And I've always been quite attracted to this schoolhouse. And we're going to come back to this schoolhouse. You're probably wondering why there's a random schoolhouse in here, but we're going to get back to this schoolhouse. But I always drove by it and thought, that's a really cool building. I wonder what goes on in there. So back to my job where I didn't talk to anybody at lunchtime and I was busy from day to day. I got very stressed out. I was not happy with what I was doing. I was feeling like I was jeopardizing my reputation because I had so much to do that the quality of my work was not good. And I had somebody who wasn't really giving me a chance or giving me any direction myself, somebody who was angry all the time, and it just didn't suit well. So I watched this TED Talk about a year ago, and this TED Talk was amazing. I highly recommend Draw Your Future. So this is a recreation of what I had drawn about a year ago. My current state, so somebody's yelling at me, we're working all independently, and we're not happy, and then drawing our future, or then I drew my future, my new desired reality, and there's me with people all around. So I put that piece of paper beside my bed. I looked at it every once in a while. I should mention, I did put on here, any resemblance to anybody in here is purely coincidental. I think I'm okay. Back to the schoolhouse. So, you know, things aren't great at work, but I still find serenity in my surroundings and driving by this beautiful schoolhouse and enjoying life, you know, outside of work. And then I guess the straw that hit the camel, or the straw that broke the camel's back was I was so stressed at work that I was feeling, I was getting aches in my shoulders, in my neck, and I was very physically and mentally unhealthy. I went to the doctors because my massage therapist was too busy one weekend, and I couldn't barely sleep because I had so much pain, was prescribed muscle relaxant and some other medication to relax my joints and pains and help to relieve myself. And I took that medication. The next day, wasn't feeling so great, had a meeting with an Emerge professional and a mental health professional, which is kind of funny because I was late for the appointment, and on my way to the appointment, I walked by this picture, and it happened to be a picture that was in an auction. So it was a silent auction, there was a box, and for some reason, I was drawn to this picture, and I had to have this picture. I was a little bit not myself because of the medication I was on. And so I went over and I got the piece of paper and I filled it out and made sure nobody was looking at me because I wanted to have that picture. I didn't want anybody else to draw to get this picture. So I wrote my name down, I folded it up, put it in the box, and it went plink. I was the only person that bid on it so far. So I went on to my meeting and had a meeting with these two professionals. They said, "Are you okay, Charlotte? Something's not right. You should go back to your office." I went back to my office and bawled my eyes out. I cried so hard. I didn't know why. And I went to do something on my computer. My hands were shaking. I was not myself. So I called my colleague over and he said, what's going on? I said, well, I think I took this medication last night. And he looks it up and he looked at the two medications and he said, those two can cause a reaction of hallucination. You're hallucinating. So after that, I'll get back to the Buddha story, but after that, again, driving by the schoolhouse, and the fact that I had to take medication because I was stressed at work was not a good thing. So when I drove by the schoolhouse one day, there was a for lease sign, and I thought, I wonder what's going on in there. And I had mentioned to my husband a few times as we drove by, one day I have this feeling I'm going to work in that building. And I said that probably 8 years ago. So here's the for lease sign, it's up. And I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do in there, but I had a few ideas, but I'm going to go see it. So I went and made an appointment, saw the beautiful building, walked in, and I knew I had to work there. I knew I had to do something. So I was thinking, what could I do here? I'd been to, I mentioned a TED Talk earlier, and I've had actually, I've watched many TED Talks. I've been to TEDx Toronto. I'm a volunteer committee member on TEDx Stouffville. And I went to the Centre for Social Innovation in Toronto, which is a co-working space, a number of years ago. And I love the space, and it's a place for entrepreneurs to come and work. And it was a beautiful space. Everybody was happy. And so I was thinking, I wonder if that's something I could do in Markham. A happy place, happy people, beautiful atmosphere. And so I was scared, but I decided to sign the lease, and I took over the space just less than a year ago, back in November. And this is what I have now at that schoolhouse. What I've opened is a co-working space for entrepreneurs and independent professionals, so writers and people that are looking for a place, outside their home to get out and work. Maybe they feel isolated at home, or they want to mingle with other people. But the whole thing is this is a place that people are happy. So I call this place the Village Hive. I got the name from a friend. We were brainstorming of different ideas of, a hub, a hive, like what can we call this place, bringing people together. So it ended up the Village Hive, as it is in Markham Village. And it's a place for collaboration, innovation, and networking. So it's not just a place just for coming and setting up your computer and working. It is that, but it's much more. It's a place where you can talk to people and people are smiling. We eat lunch together. We bring lunch if we can't go out for lunch, but we stop and we have lunch and we have coffee and we have tea and we know each other. I've only been in this place. Members started in February. And I know people's kids. I know their names. I know their husbands, or I know they at least have a husband or a wife. I know where they live. I know so much about these people. Yet the place I'd worked before for 2 years, I didn't even, on my last day when I had the goodbye party at a restaurant, I found out that the guy next to me had 2 kids, my kid's age. I couldn't believe it. He'd never mentioned, well, we never got a chance to talk. So very happy to have this space now, and with all shiny, happy people that are there. And these are all real people. They do resemble the picture that they are. And I'm really very fortunate that I have these people surrounding me that are enjoying life and enjoying their world and their trip and their journey as an entrepreneur. I have Love Gelato in there. It's one of my favorite places to go. And I can go there. My last job, I couldn't leave my office. I was too busy. Well, I can go for a gelato anytime I want. I just wanted to leave with, I guess, a quote my husband found just yesterday. So, I started off the presentation with that clear path, that one path that leads to somewhere, and then the crazy Los Angeles interchange. And although that's really what my life was, it kind of makes sense. So as I said, that my business is called the Village Hive, and my husband found this quote, bumblebees are remarkable navigators. While their flight paths may look scattered to the casual eye, all that buzzing about is anything but random. So I do seem a little random, I'm sure people would admit, but it makes sense and it works for me. So this is a great, I guess, advice for people. Fill yourself up, find good work, good people, good thoughts, and keep them close and build your life around them. Thank you very much.